Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Sixfields. It is pre-season, so do bear with us amid any connection issues or anything else. But we have the Norwich City team news here, and if we move out of the way before I read it, and Paddy's just going to tilt the screen down, you'll be able to see. Hopefully it comes into vision. There we go. Sixfields in all its glory. So Norwich City players just to the right half, or just to this half of the pitch. Right half as we're looking at it, I can see Kenneth Finley Welsh. I can see a lot of the young component. Lewis Shipley is out there. Borja Science, and that probably lends us nicely to bring you onto the team, which we will do if we just tilt it up. The high-level tech operation. Norwich City line up this afternoon. George Long in goal. Jack Stacey, Shane Duffy. Borja Science, Christian Fashnak, Gabriel Sara, who captains the side, Jakob Sørensen, John Rowe, Brad Hills, Abu Kamara, and Guilherme Montoya. So we're going to put that into a formation. We think it's going to be a 4-3-3. It'll be Long in goal, Stacey, Duffy, Hills, Montoya, Sørensen, Sara, Fashnak, Rowe, Science, Kamara. And then there's obviously a long list of substitutes, and the nature of these friendlies are that we often get a host of them, but I'll just read you the names that are listed as substitutes on this team sheet. Kellen Fisher, Archie Mayer, Tom Finch, who's a young goalkeeper who joined the club earlier this summer, Finley Welsh, Elliot Miles, Tony Springett, Kenneth Bow, Jonathan Tompkinson, Waylon Reneka, Emmanuel Adeboyega, Uriah Dedeji, Tom Shipley, Aidan Manning, and Errol Mundle-Smith, who, of course, signed his first pro contract for Norwich City earlier in the summer. The Northampton team, Lee Burge, John Guthrie, who is their captain, Jordan Willis, he's ex-Cobb, isn't he, I think? Sam Hoskins, Ben Fox, Mitch Pinnock, Ali Kokai, Adin Odemeu, Will Hondermark, which might be a name familiar to some Norwich City fans. He was on the books at Norwich for a period. Callum Morton, and a trialist. And there's, there's seven trialists in the Northampton squad. But Paddy, as a Norwich team, anything that immediately leaps off the page at you? I guess maybe the absence of Adam Eder potentially.
Well, yeah, I mean, we'll get into that. I'll see one or two questions, notably that they're not there. We'll take them in due course. But just in terms of that lineup, first one under Johannes Thorup, I'm here for that front three. You know, when you're looking at that and you see Kamara, you see Rowe, and you see Science. Yes, please, more of that. It'd be interesting to see. I mean, presumably for me, it's Kamara down the middle.
That's what I'm presuming.
Yeah, which is an interesting one. I think we had a question on that. We did the Q&A on Monday, and it was like, could you see him playing in that role? And I thought, well, you look at the success he had with Portsmouth, cutting in from the right and the left as well. Didn't really see him in that role, but I mean, today might be a window into Thorup's thinking. But that front three, yes, we know what this is. This is a first hit out, and it's about minutes and fitness. But it does lick the lips in terms of what style of play we might see from this guy, if that's the sort of attacking options he's got. And, you know, we know there's more players who can come into this mix. So, for me, I look immediately at that 11, and I see those three, and that stands out. And obviously, Sarah, the captain's armband, I'll be there for this season, because A, it means he's here, and B, he's going to be an influential figure. So I'll bowl that one back to you, Connor. When you saw that 11 drop, what was your initial eyebrow raiser?
Yeah, same around the front three. I think we were obviously, given the left-back situation, expecting Guilherme Montoya to start there. Brad Hills starting as well, which is good. Shane Duffy as well. A little bit surprised to see him thrown straight back in, given obviously he's been one of the international guys who has only returned this week. But yeah, and obviously I think if it does pan out in the way that we suspect and that it might not do, and it's pre-season, it's fluid. But if Christian Fashnak is playing in a central midfield mix, whatever that kind of looks like, that would be very interesting as well to see how that pans out. Look, this is the point, as we know, of experimentation. If that is the role that maybe they've seen something in him, it would be really. I was going to say it's world in motion.
Give it a bit of Barnes.
Absolutely. No, I'll leave that to you.
No, you're all right. No. Need to hold and give.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, Gabriel Sara, obviously captain. If that's what it takes to keep him in, then fine.
Yeah, certainly not us, mate.
Yeah, certainly not us. But yeah, let's go through some of the omissions. Let's start with Ashley Barnes, who isn't here. Jaden Warner as well isn't here. We're led to believe both of those probably slight injury related, not anything serious.
No. Yeah. Basically, I just had a quick word with people who know these things. And Barnesy, obviously, back end of last season, I'm trying to work out what it was. It was a muscular issue, wasn't it?
Are you allowed to remember what was the Barnes issue?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Some muscle somewhere.
Yeah, so, clearly there may be a hangover from that a little bit. And obviously we're at the stage of this pre-season, you're not risking anything at all, whether it's something they came back with or something that they might have over the first 2 weeks of training. But we'll get full updates from Thorpe on those two. But that's what we're led to believe. Gibbs and Onel, similarly, they obviously had injury-ending seasons.
I think Anella said on his platforms that he's literally just in the last couple of days or so returned to team training, which is great news because he's been out since February, I think, with that
March, I think it was, But and noticeably, a lot of his socials output over the summer, or more so when they've got back, it's him and Gibbs working alone, isn't it, away from the group? So I think that's probably an explanatory reason for those two. And then obviously there's no Ida today, and we know the situation there, but I don't think it's a reflection that there's things moving in terms of his career status. I think it's more that he only came back into the group this week. He will have needed to do his activation and his testing.
To play devil's advocate, so did Shane Duffy.
Yeah, there is that, I suppose. Yeah, but maybe he was back in the building a little bit earlier. There was other matters he had to attend to.
8 o'clock instead of 9. Or
yeah, we'll leave that there. But again, we will clarify that with Thorpe. But I'm pretty sure that certainly I've not heard anything to suggest otherwise with Adam Eder. So, and obviously, as we know, the Copa America boys, the Euro 24 boys, they're all still on their extended break. So, yeah, other than that, I'm trying to think. I think that covers off all the potential players who might have been here who aren't here today.
Yeah, if there are any that we've forgotten, which is possible because we've got a long list of Norwich City players in front of us, then do shout. But just to run you through that Norwich 11 again, it's Long in goal, Stacey, Duffy, Hills and Montoya as the back four, Sorensen, Sarah and Fashnakt, we think, as a midfield three, Sainz and Rowe on either flank with Abu Kamara down the middle. 4-3-3 is kind of what we're expecting, but don't hold us to any of those predictions. And there's just some names who are amongst the subs. Obviously, the way this will work, a lot of these will be exposed to minutes. Callum Fisher, Archie Mayer, Tom Finch, young goalkeeper who joined the club this summer. Finley Welsh, Elliot Miles, Tony Springett, who had a loan spell here at the back end of last season. Kenneth Bowe, fresh from signing a new contract. Jonathan Tompkinson, who's obviously returned to the club after a loan spell at Bradford. Waylon Reneka, Emmanuel Adeboyega, who's at Walsall last season, or the second half at least. Araya Dideji, who's a young sort of holding midfielder. Tom Shipley, who was also at Accrington with Brad Hills, although got lost at Lewis Shipley. Sorry, I don't know why it says Tom on there. I'm just reading what's in front of me. It's too early for me to know any of that. Aidan Manning and Errol Mundell-Smith make it up. So very, very young bench. And yeah, it is an interesting one, isn't it? Kamara down the middle. He played predominantly off the side at Portsmouth, but in areas where he could come in and try and score goals. So you can, and he has done it for the 21s before, hasn't he? Played centrally. So you can see the school of thinking.
Yeah, I mean, physically, you'd think that wouldn't be an issue for him in terms of, and he's clearly an intelligent footballer, and maybe that's something that's just, Thorpe wants to take a look at today. He obviously doesn't have too many other options because there's no Sargent, there's no Barnes, and there's no Eder. So somebody's going to have to play in that nominally central role. But everything we've heard about this guy, it's a very fluid, system and positionally within a clearly defined tactical template, and we might see that today. There might be periods of the game where it's Rowe down the middle, might be Sainz. So I don't think we'll pigeonhole him as he will be leading the line, but certainly of the three, you would expect he would start in those positions. We just had a question there about when do the Euro boys and the Copa America boys return. I think it's going to be over the next week or two. I think there'll be some in Belgium, and then there'll be some maybe you come back in for the following week. Because ultimately, certainly the Copa America boys, I mean, they only finished last weekend, the Panama game with Cordoba. So, but I'm pretty sure, I think the Scottish lads might be in and around it for Belgium, which is obviously, I think they fly out next Tuesday, is it? Monday, Tuesday, for 2 friendlies. So maybe by this time next week, they're scheduled to play Liège. That might be the first opportunity to see some of those players. But back to today. I mean, just as you read out the subs there, Connor, I'm just thinking.
No, we're going through the old playlist.
What we got here?
This is Anton Deck on the ball, isn't it?
That's more. That's one.
I know that one.
That's one for you. That. Yeah, as the Norwich keepers come out, small pocket of City fans behind the goal. We'll turn it around when we go. For fear we'll pull the cable out if we try it now. But no, when you were reading out, you just think youth. As you were going through that list of names, really.
Particularly the bench.
The bench. That's what I mean. The bench. Yeah, the bench. I mean, very youthful today, and that's a reflection of there's a lot of senior players not available today. So again, we won't get too carried away what we see here today, but it probably just again underlines that, and it was reiterated by Thorpe and by Napa at the fans forum on Monday, that at the heart of what this is going to look like moving forward is youth, is developing your own talent and giving them opportunities. I did a piece with Greg Broughton, who's as good as any to talk about this, given his career path spans academy football and obviously more recently with Blackburn. And he says it's all right having a commitment to develop youth. You have to give them opportunities. You have to bring them towards your first team and then give them opportunities. And then, as we've seen in the most successful periods recently, you hopefully will see them to take those opportunities and to give them their due. We talked about Kamara. We talked a little bit about Brad Hills. They took their opportunities lower down the football pyramid last season. Are they now ready? And this is what Thorpe needs to assess in pre-season. Are they now ready to go into a championship environment playing for Norwich with the expectation that comes with it?
Yeah, and that was going to be one of my questions, really, in terms of opportunity knocking. Is there anyone that I mean, Hills, I think we're looking at, given the cohort of centre-backs that they have, and probably those still to come back. Cordoba's still got to come back. Grant Hanley, of course, as well. It feels like there's probably going to be one of the younger ones in and around it this season, providing there's obviously no movement elsewhere, which is possible, or no one particularly catches the eye. Probably Montoya as well. Obviously, the left-back situation is as it is. I remember speaking to him when we did the 21s game. When would that have been? March time? No, it was around the FA Cup weekend, wasn't it?
Just to answer that question, Colin, yes, he is.
He is, yeah. But I remember talking to him about potentially this situation and him being very much like, no, I'm ready. If this is the situation, I'm ready to go and try and stake a claim. And it's through training, but also pre-season matches that he's going to get the opportunity to do that.
And to be fair, there shouldn't anything faze him about what he faced in this Northampton team today. That's not being disrespectful, but that's kind of the level he was operating at successfully on a personal level with Accrington. I think he was their player of the year in the end, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Got a huge body of games, huge amount of minutes. And that's, obviously said at the outset, I'm kind of drawn towards that front three. That's initially where I'm looking for today. But in a player like Hills, because I remember seeing him at was it Kings Lynn last summer?
Yes.
I think it was.
He's a big lad.
How far he's tracked on. What is a season of Football League football with the knocks that you get and the pressure to be trying to win 3 points every week and coming through that and seemingly stepping forward and really embracing that. How far has he moved on? So for me, there's a lot of strands to today's lineup. Even Sorensen, he had, let's be honest, another injury-interrupted season.
He might get a chance at defensive midfield now.
Well, this is what I'm saying, and he's obviously got his compatriot now in charge and just how that dynamic works. So, ultimately today is I think, just the first opportunity to see some of the themes that I think maybe we'll dig into as this pre-season unfolds. But there's absolutely no doubt this does feel new, it does feel different, it does feel fresh. And I'm sure as the Norwich players come out, maybe if I tilt that down,
and you'll be able to see them in their brand spanking new training tops. What colour would you describe that as? That's that's a sort of almost. It's not sky blue, but it is a blue, sort of a bluey green, different sort of colour to the.
More green than blue.
Yeah, we'll move off fashion pretty quickly, but yeah, it is interesting because. Equally, as much as we talk about fitness, there is going to clearly be a footballing element to this pre-season because it is a new style of play, and this is a block of time that Johannes Oftrup has to implement what he wants to do. So there is going to have to be some focus and some work in terms of what they're doing in shapes and patterns and in possession and out of possession. Ben Lee did a very good piece in the week about what that might all look like. Yeah. It's going to be complex. I mean, at that fans forum, Napa and Torak both spoke about the importance of information in players and their ability to take it on board, retain it, and then obviously implement it. So it's going to be interesting to see, I guess, how far along they are even at this stage in that process.
Yeah, and it probably you hope anyway. You leave today and you see elements of it, but it's like a painting. There's going to be so much more colour to sketch in. So we can't be too over ambitious, I don't think, today. I thought running the theme that ran through that forum the other night with Thorup and Apo is patience and time. Yeah. And they wanted to message that out externally and will continue to message out. This isn't going to look anywhere near the finished article in pre-season and probably for a good portion of the season, maybe even the entire season. It might take a 12-month body of work till we get to a point where there's almost an intuitive element to what those players are being asked to do and carrying it out. Right now, it feels, what possible progress 2 weeks in is he going to be able to make? I mean, he'll have embedded some principles, but in this environment, we might not see too much of that today. But I think it is important that that this feels like a line in the sand. But your point is proven because in very short order they go from here to Belgium. They're playing the champions of Belgium, who were in the Champions League, Club Brugge, and they play Christophe Jolis, hopefully, and then they play Standard Liège, another very good side in Belgium. So. It will very quickly escalate in terms of the level of opponent and the challenges they're going to face tactically and technically. And I'm sure you'd like to see some evidence that even in a very abbreviated period of time that this has moved on from what we saw under David Wagner and what a David Wagner Norwich looked like compared to a Johannes Thorup.
Yeah, a couple of questions coming through. Gibbs is injured. I think we've run through that and is still working his way back to full fitness. Cameron McGinn was here. I did see him. He was sort of hovering in and around the tunnel, but not listed amongst the Northampton team today. So obviously some sort of fitness concern, but always good to see him. Obviously was captain of that FA Youth Cup winning side, wasn't he? In 11 years ago now, blimey. Of the younger guys on the bench, Paddy, is there any that you're really looking at? Obviously, a lot's been made of the guys who are probably coming. There's McGeehan down there. If we can, don't know if that's going to focus.
Just to the right of the tunnel. Yeah, that's him there, isn't it?
Yeah, down there in the grey hoodie, just to the left of the tunnel. So, yeah, there you go. But I mean, of those ones on the bench, there's obviously been we know a lot about Kennebo, Tony Springett. Of those really, really young ones, Dejeji, Miles, I know is someone that is very exciting. Mundell Smith, Manning, any of those sort of guys. I mean, Reneka as well. He made a matchday squad last season. Any of those that you feel there could be an opportunity for through pre-season, just through the way the squad is shaping up?
Well, I mean, you're looking at central defensively today, and he's gone Duffy, bit of experience, and he's gone Brad Hills. I mean, Adebayo Aga, by all accounts, did very well at Walsall. He's one you might not immediately think in terms of the pecking order of centre-backs who could come through, but you know, I look at him and I think he's a very athletic type of defender. I don't really know, I haven't seen enough of him, how comfortable he is on the ball, but the interesting thing now is
midfielder, wasn't he?
Exactly, I think he started as midfielder, yeah. So that would lead you to think he might be the type of profile that Thorup likes the look of, you know, and as a result, what you've almost got to do is shed maybe what your assessment of these players were under David Wagner, because that's gone, that era's gone. This is a new manager putting new demands on these players. And if an Adebayo Aga perhaps has impressed enough, and when he gets minutes, as he will do, might not be today, but as Johannes said to us at the forum, all of these players in these opening games will be getting minutes. If he takes his chance, then he elevates himself forward in that rather competitive race of young centre-backs.
Good stuff. And just finally, Pat, is there anything that you're looking for today? What do you want to leave this ground? And we've got a long walk to the car park, so we've got a long.
What number is Shane Duffy?
Shane Duffy is number 4. Yeah. What was he last year? Was he testing me? I don't know. I thought he was 24. Yeah. 24, okay. Yeah. So there has been a change there. But what do you hope to leave Sixfields today feeling or thinking or having seen from this Norwich side? Is there anything at all tangible?
Well, just the style of play, because it feels quite a marked shift. I mean, we had a conversation in the car over, and off the back of Ben's piece earlier in the week, you could argue there wasn't too much different in terms of the starting point for how Norwich wanted to build, i.e. under Wagner, splitting the two centre-backs, and that's, by all accounts, you know, you look at Nordsjælland and the work Thorup did there, how he likes to start the build-up play. But from there, and we discussed it, as I said, you know, positive early signs under Wagner last season, that Southampton away game, where they were building very intelligently through the thirds. You had almost wall pass options from Azara, and you had Stacey bombing on. I remember that Southampton 4-4, and you thought this feels different. That just went off into a cul-de-sac. We never really saw that again for the rest of the season. With this guy, everything you read, you hear, you see, you talk to people who are familiar with his work, it's almost a philosophical way of how he wants to play the game. And if I left today and I saw evidence of that, irrespective of the result, you know, of a team who know what they're trying to do with the ball when they start from deep and trying to progress in an intelligent manner through the pitch, and hopefully then, as we're led to believe, create plenty of chances, I think that would be a very good starting point today. But, you know, we do need to have a fair dose of realism. It's 2 weeks into a process that is going to take maybe a season, maybe more.
Indeed. Just to answer Ryan's point before we go off, he's just asking us about Onel Hernandez and Ashley Barnes. We have covered those, but yeah, basically both working their way back to full fitness as we understand it. So at this stage of pre-season, you obviously don't take risks. But I think that's a nice place to leave it. We will, of course, we have all our usual coverage across our channels. I'm on the live blog, and we have pointers and chats with Thorup, and maybe even a player after the game as well. We'll see how it all transpires. But there's a fair few, quite a lot if we can spin it around. Look at this. This is where it all goes wrong. If the lighting goes, there you go, and that's stand behind the goal. There's a fair few amount of yellow and green shirts behind there, and various different colours of Norwich City shirts throughout the years here. There's a couple of coaches outside. There were lots of Norwich fans milling about. In fact, I can see a fair few. We won't pan around to the other goal. There's a massive hill behind the other goal. I can see a few yellow and green shirts making their way down here as well. So, going to be a good afternoon of football. It's a shame there's not any blue skies, and we're all wearing jumpers at the start of July. But there you go. That is the setting for this afternoon's game at Sixfields. Winkin.com, the place to go, and we'll see you again very soon. Thanks for watching.